I've often written that feminism is liberalism as applied to women, and I stand by that. But I should point out that liberalism can survive without feminism, but the reverse is not true. Without the support of liberalism, feminism would be nothing. Everything that feminism has been achieved because of the support of liberalism. Liberalism believes in the autonomous individual. Feminism believes in the autonomous female individual. Liberalism has not always been supportive of feminism. In fact, there have been large chunks of time where feminism appeared to be a dead philosophy, and each time it came back into fashion because of the support it received from liberalism. But think of this. Between the 1920s and the 1960s, feminism disappeared from mainstream view. It still existed, of course, but it was tiny. That changed after classical liberalism died. Now it made a lot of sense for left liberalism to provide support to feminism, which it did. They both wanted to destroy traditional society and especially the family. Both held the autonomous individual back. So for a truly liberal society to exist, for individuals to be free, they needed to go. Feminism took to this task with relish. They made a lot of noise and created a lot of strife. When you look at the feminist legislation of the 1970s, you realise that feminists just didn't have the numbers in any parliament to make any of this happen. So who did? Liberals. Liberals pushed these things into law, and the feminists made it seem as if there was a real need for these laws and that they were needed right away. Today, the feminist agenda has wreaked much havoc upon society. In many ways, liberalism doesn't need feminism anymore. The work it was needed for is done, or at least well entrained to continue its path of destruction. But it seems to me that another idea has taken away the glamour that was once feminism: multiculturalism. Multiculturalism has many features that liberalism likes very much, and it is direct attack on race, ethnicity, and group loyalty. It brings the two sides of liberalisms together. Right liberals provide an economic argument, and left liberals provide the social argument. It attacks the nation state and even the idea of such a state. It isolates the individual, both native born and immigrant. It uses institutions that in many cases were hostile to liberalism and forces it to choose. Take the churches, for example. Should they show compassion for the poor immigrant, or should it be loyal to the native born? It must choose, as must charities, businesses, schools. It creates tensions within communities, between friends, neighbours and family members. Everyone is made more isolated, more autonomous. The more autonomous individuals, the greater the victory for liberalism. However, feminism works at cross purposes to multiculturalism. It believes that a woman, regardless of her race, ethnicity or religion, should be an autonomous female individual. But pushed too far, that would create quite a lot of problems for liberalism. Liberalism is fine with that being true at some indistinct point in time, but today it needs feminists to be more liberal than feminists. It needs them to support multiculturalism even when it directly hurts feminism. In the 1990s, feminists became aware of female genital mutilation among some Muslim ethnic groups, and they began to campaign against it. But now it is rarely mentioned. The same for human sex trafficking, a bit more well known, but it's surprising how little is done on this issue. Actually, those on the right would support feminists on this issue. We share their outrage, but that outrage has been strangely quiet of late, as has the outrage regarding the rape of women by immigrants. Feminists have never been shy about using rape as a weapon, but today they are strangely quiet. Again, is it the case that feminists don't think it's a problem? Is it the case that they are much better liberals than they are feminists? Or is it the case that without liberals, feminists just aren't that important? The current invasion of Europe, which continues with the help of the governments of Europe and the full support of liberalism, is set to continue. And as the majority of these invaders are young men, crime will rise, including rape and other sex crimes. As the first duty of any government is the protection of its own citizens, the governments of Europe are failing in the most shocking way. It seems feminism is also failing. It claims to represent women and their interests, but it seems that, like liberalism, it's willing to sacrifice women for a greater good. If European women must be raped to achieve their goals, then that's a price that they are prepared for others to make.